what sort of like set you on this path of what ended up becoming filmmaking?
Yeah, I would say, oddly enough, for most people who live in, we're based out of Virginia Beach, Virginia, and so we're definitely like a skate surf town. But growing up, skate videos and skateboarding was kind of like what we grew up doing. It was like our lifeblood, and so me not being the best skater out of my whole crew, I ended up picking up a camera, and that kind of the rest is history. So that's kind of where I started was. Grabbing, my friend's parents' camcorder and then borrowing it without them knowing and making skate videos, and then using VCRs to record back and forth and edit on VCRs getting hooked up. And that was the most crude way of making skate videos. And so that was, in a nutshell, like kind of what inspired me, seeing a lot of older skate videos. I know we've talked in the past about some iconic skate videos that were really inspirational to us and influenced us very much, like Yeah Right or Shorty's videos, or was girl skate videos. I mean, there was all kinds of stuff that definitely pushed me in a direction of like really enjoying the filmmaking process. And so, yeah, that's kind of my personal journey up to, how I got started in filmmaking. So.
Yeah, I mean, mine very similar too. And I think, I was definitely very involved with skate culture. Like you said, both of us are born and raised in the Virginia Beach area, which is, a coastal region for those who aren't familiar. And it's kind of like a military town too. So it's very transient.
Tourism.
Yeah. So it is like a beach skate town for sure. And yeah, like skateboarding at that time too, like now what skateboarding's turned into, now it's in the Olympics and, it's seen as like an actual real sport. But back then it was sort of like, I don't know, just like that, like teenage angst that like, sort of like outcasts of society. But, from a art perspective too, that always had so much culture in it. And, especially with skate videos too, like there was just such a experience when you watch the skate video. And, that was something that I always loved about skate culture is, not only did they push the boundaries on what was possible on a skateboard, but just even what was possible to capture that, showcase that. And same thing for me as far as, my involvement, grabbing, a friend's parents, camcorder and, making those like crude skate videos where you'd have like, your own like Bobo ramps that you'd build and you'd have it like locked off shots and you'd be, filming for hours just to get someone to like land a trick. And then you'd like, crudely edit those on VCRs and you'd just be so stoked at the end of it. Invite all your buddies over to watch, your skate part.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I think for me, there was one skate video in particular that sort of changed. I mean, I remember it like it was yesterday when it came out, going to the skate store, picking it up. This was before the days of YouTube. This was in the 90s. And I watched it every single day. It was Fulfill the Dream. Watched it every single day. And at that time, there wasn't a skate video like it. You had things like 4-on-1, which is basically like vlogs back in the day, like before vlogging was a thing, but it was like a day in the life of a skater.
Right.
So you had that sort of organic element, but this was like a true like story that was being told and, showing the camaraderie of the team and sort of, it's just a precursor of like even Jackass and things like that. And so the soundtrack super iconic as well. And, now looking back, I can see just, my love for music, my love for visuals, my love for storytelling sort of sprung out of that. I feel for me, it wasn't cinema. As some people's journey is, it was that counterculture, like trailblazing, like what if we did this?
Right.
This hasn't been done before.
Right.
That kind of spirit that sort of is always, I feel like, stayed with me too. And even fast forwarding now to how I direct and how I view things, on the projects where we really go for it is that kind of like free spirit of like, the only rule is there is no rules. And that's certainly in the early days of skateboarding, or that 90s era of skateboarding, I should say. It very much, was that. It's like, there is no rules, so we can kind of make trailblaze and make the story as we want. So.
Yeah, because there was skateboarding, right? But then there was also like another layer within those videos that I think for both of us was, like sketches that would kind of be kind of like placed in between the skating.
Sure.
That one made your favorite skateboarder kind of humanized because they'd be in this sketch and you get to see their personality. You get to like kind of connect with them through like whether it's like a funny sketch or like just something kind of creative. And so for me, that was also like, man, like it's not just like cutting together a bunch of footage. It's like, man, you can actually have fun and like find an art form within this, like, I guess format. You can kind of break that mold quite a bit. And I felt like a lot of those skate videos kind of coming up did a lot of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And so that was super fun to kind of watch and then go out and try to do it yourself.
Yeah. And that's sort of what it kind of evolved in, middle school and high school into like sort of that more skit based, as we continued our craft. At that time, we didn't even know it was a craft, really. Yeah. But it's just how many funny skit, type videos can we make?
And that kind of took off even more so with Jackass. Like once Jackass kind of hit the scene, then it was like, oh, okay. Like not only are we making like just funny like sketches, but now we're like kind of doing like outlandish things that, are just kind of just wild, extreme things that were, a different type of a sketch that I feel like kind of brought a different element into it. But, and I remember that kind of, playing into a lot of stuff, even other types of videos that I was creating, at that time too.